I went all in, played my cards right. Up the ante, won blackjack all night. Roll the dice, let it ride. Water the odds, I got snake eyes.
Real quick, before we get started, Kasimov is our content production company. Why content? It's simple. Content brings people together. I've seen it play out over and over, and I want to help others explore and discover this for themselves. The experience is totally worth it. Learn more at kasimov.com. We focus on podcasts and writing, one piece of content at a time. It all starts with conversations, just like this one. I heard Zuckerberg talk. I heard him in an interview.
Yeah.
He said people are more triggered offline. They've done studies. He didn't do the study. It's third-party studies.
Mm-hmm.
People are more triggered offline than they are online.
Okay. So what's the parameters here?
The concept is that social media is the problem. Social media. Well, of course he is. He's going to highlight that side, and other people are going to highlight the other side. I'm just saying, there's studies, and you could understand, well, I never get on social media, and I hate those people, and I hate these people.
I'm going to tell you about another study. Okay. One that I just mentioned in a
previous podcast. Okay.
Yeah. This study is based on what's called simulation theory. Simulation theory is the idea that we're currently living in a virtual reality created by our descendants.
Sure.
And as I shared with you, but I will repeat again for this podcast, is that Nick Bostrom, who heads up the Institute for the Future of Humanity at Oxford University, when I was in my graduate program, we read his paper back from 2003, and it was on whether or not we are currently living in a virtual reality. And based on the factors and parameters and everything they do in an academic research paper, came to the conclusion that there's a 66.3, I believe, % chance that we are currently living in a virtual reality created by our descendants. So that's one study. I don't know, man. You tell me.
Studies.
So Zuck can eat it.
Yeah. So you disagree with them. I'm just saying,
I really have no position to disagree because I haven't seen any facts.
I think it's just an interesting concept because I have talked to people that aren't on social media and they're very easily triggered. You just say a word.
Let's define triggered.
Get upset over something quickly based on a topic that I don't know if that's
Do kids count? Boy, because they could trigger me.
Yeah.
My kids trigger me so bad.
Yeah.
No, I love them. No, they don't really trigger.
Yeah. But
they're loud.
That was you hear a conversation, you're like, oh, that's interesting concept. That's an interesting thought. Let me think about that more, right? You go down these topics. I had another one. Then someone on Twitter, your favorite. Twitter's really, I think you're just looking at it all wrong. We can talk about that at another podcast.
For sure. I'm open to...
Someone who doesn't have this huge following, 1,000-something followers, posted something about a friend of his whose kid plays youth sports, plays youth baseball.
Right.
And they pay $4,500 a year to play youth baseball. That was all he said. Thousands of comments and retweets and likes and dislikes later.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge thread about this topic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, isn't such an obvious answer, right? There's a lot to that question. A lot to that thought. I mean, you have kids.
No, there's not a lot to that thought. It's this imposing of complexity to somebody else's offhanded comment.
Yeah.
My kid plays youth baseball and it's $4,500 a year. That's just a thought. Number one is who cares? Mm-hmm. Number two is the fact that guy got all kinds of hate and maybe some love. I don't know.
It was all over the place.
To me, it's just really people.
Right.
You're going to tell me people get triggered in real life more than that?
No, and I'm not saying that's the triggering. We kind of moved on, but sort of stayed with triggering, but it's not really triggering.
Online is just LARPing. No, it's just LARPing.
Well, let me ask you, you have kids?
I do.
What do they do in their free time? Do they play organized
Whatever I tell them to do. No, yeah. I'm not one of these parents that have them in all these different...
Do they want to play? I know you don't have to be...
No, yeah, and that's fine. And I'm not judging that.
Yeah.
Because
my kids do love that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Mine just wasn't something they were really into.
That's fine.
My youngest, I think he enjoys playing team sports. My oldest was a lot like me. He does not.
Yeah.
My oldest is freakishly athletic too, but I think he's going to be much more on the individual sports side. Okay. So cycling and
boxing.
No, he has more of a natural inclination towards the ground. I think he's definitely going to be a ground fighter.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm being serious. He loves to wrestle. He's just got the right build for it.
Yeah.
And I'd mentioned before in one of our conversations about jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
I think it's going to be really good for him.
Yeah. Zuckerberg's into that stuff.
All these guys are.
Because they have free time and they don't know what to do. And
I've only done it once. I was down at Fort Bragg and I got to roll around with some of these guys down there. They're very well trained. And I was like, man, this seems like this would be really good.
Mm-hmm. What if your son is really good at this? He's got to travel a little bit because you don't have I don't know what they call it's not leagues, but a place to go.
Yeah, it's competitions.
There's competitions, and you got to go to Atlanta, and you got to go to Memphis, and you got to go to DC, and you got to pay for the instructor and you got to pay for the gym time. And it's going to add up and cost some money. Like, there's some questions to be had there. Because like, there's pressure for the kid.
Right.
There's a lot of investment that you have to make. There's a lot of time. Like, what do you do with that?
Well, I mean, if he's really into it and he's good and he shows some real promise in it and he's,
what if he just loves it? What if he's not going
he just sucks,
Division
but he loves
One
it?
or he's not going to become like whatever that thing is?
So that's really a question of, am I willing to invest money in something that he loves, but he's going to go nowhere with?
There's no return on this investment.
Well, now you're making it transactional.
Okay, so that was what was happening in this Twitter thread. Everybody's thought was, what if you took that $4,500 and invested it into their future, into their college fund, into this, into that? I'm like, so all of a sudden, that $4,500 is, we have to get a return on it. Because I could say one of the worst things you could get, if you're doing dollar for dollar returns, is having children. I'm not saying don't have children. I got 3 of them and I love them, right? But they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Just eating.
No, they're not.
Pay rent.
Yeah, seriously. Loosen those child labor laws.
But like, everything's on return on it. And this goes into so much more, but...
This is good. I like this. This is really good. No, okay, so let's follow that thread. The return on investment. But this is also the mentality that has driven just the insane competitiveness from Gen X parents and their kids, like for their kids, right? Hey, they need to go to this school. They need to do college prep, this and that, so they can get into this. They need to do all these activities. They need to play all these sports so they can do really well in their college application and get into an Ivy League school or a high-level school. It's this, hey, I'm going to map out your entire life, son or daughter. I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to put you into all of these things that you may not like right now. And I'm not saying that's all bad, but what I'm saying is that it is all transactional. It's, hey, I'm making an investment, so I get a good return on that investment for your future. Being an Army kid, we were never in one place long enough to get involved in league sports for long periods of time. Because there is, like, once you get in, it does seem to be this thing that, if you're good and you show promise, you come up with a whole bunch of kids. And then maybe, the best ones rise to the top and go D1.
Well, and then you start looking at the numbers, like, what are the odds? What are the odds of playing in college at any level and going pro? And then there's a lot to think about. Like, but there's also the time that they spend.
For sure.
Because it's great. You're outside or you're inside and you're running around. Team, you have camaraderie, you make friends.
If all these sports keeps them off screens for as much time, geez, that's a great return on investment.
Absolutely. But how do you measure that?
Yeah, well.
You can't measure that. But that's what everyone immediately goes to. And you see it at business all the time. Well, why would I do that? Because if I invest $100, I want to make $102 or whatever.
That's a terrible ROI.
Right. Well, if you doubled it, if you made 102 additional, you didn't even ask the question if it was 100 plus 102. Now it's a great investment. You do that all day long.
Sure.
You would.
Math is not my strong suit, though. So
you go to, you said Gen X. This goes before. I mean, it's
you and I are on the bottom end of that. We're actually what's called Xennials, which is stupid.
Really? There's a word.
There is a word. That's what
I always thought that.
Yeah.
Because even my brother and I, we have different tastes in music.
We're at the bottom end. Yeah. Oh, how old's your brother?
Oh, we don't talk about ages on this podcast, right? We're 4.5 years apart.
Okay, great.
So generational. I'm just saying,
you're
like,
48.
But we were no, I'm not. Don't say that again. There was a hip hop generation. So that's kind of what I'm getting, because that came at a certain point. And I'm going to tie this into Will Smith as well. So I'm reading Will Smith's book. It's a good book. Check it out. So he talks about the evolution of hip hop and rap music. And he talked about advice and he talked about going to college. And his mom's dream for her kids was to go to college.
Yeah.
Well, he had made a decision when he met DJ Jazzy Jeff that he was not going to college. When he told his mom he wasn't going to college, she flipped out. Her advice, because her whole life was she made it to middle-class America and got through all of this trouble that they went through because of college.
Correct.
So all of her kids were going to go to college.
Yeah.
But then he was at the precipice of like making it big.
Yeah.
He was Will Smith. He was a Fresh Prince. He wasn't going to go to college. He talks about advice. Like, that advice was a fact to her.
Yeah.
And that's great. And she was not wrong in her advice. It just didn't apply to what he was going through. Now that's different because it's parental relationship.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I think that goes to the point that we kind of treat kids as property. And again, this is not some like philosophical point of view. I mean, we look at them as, we care for them, we take care of them. Maybe property is not the right word. We kind of look at kids as mini-me's, and they're not. They're their own people. They have a lot of traits that are like ours. The idea that I could say here is like, hey, here's what I want for your future. Right. And it becomes this list of things. Like, I want you to go to this kind of school. I want you to get these kind of grades. I want you to do, and again, I'm oversimplifying. Because there's a lot of good that comes out of that too. I just think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Or you're setting them up for a major nervous breakdown at some point in time.
Who are you doing it for at this point? My son plays soccer and he's out there. Play soccer because you want to play soccer. If you told me tomorrow, I want to stop playing soccer forever. I support that.
For sure.
We might talk about it and you just understand it.
You might look at that ROI and be like, man, I've wasted so much
all
money.
This money. Man, when you talk to people in the UK and how they talk about soccer and they ask how much we're spending on soccer over here, blows their mind. They don't pay for it.
Of course not, man.
Maybe 25 pounds, right? That's it. It's like nothing.
No, it's big business here.
And now,
that's all sports.
Once you're really good, I will say this, there's a flip. It's almost like the military to where the country then owns you and you have to give the country and your club time. They will cut you the second you're not part of that anymore. And then you're on your own. And there's tons of mental health issues in the UK as it relates to not being a good footballer. Right? So you're done. So they easily discard you. But at the same time, you're not paying $2,000 or $1,500, let's say, to join a good club.
Correct. It's just a big business here, right? I mean, my brother-in-law was a professional cyclist from, I think, the age of 12 all the way up till the age of 25. He grew up in former Yugoslavia, Serbia. And from an early age, once they identified, it's like you have these talent identification scouts, right? It's like, oh man, this kid's showing some promise. And so if I get the story wrong, I may be getting some of this wrong. But the general idea was that you're now then, like, cycling becomes something you're going to do for the state. And, you're going to be groomed and we're going to provide you education and all this other kind of stuff. But all of it apparently revolved around cycling. So, and he did. He went on to become a pro, raced.
He enjoyed it.
Yeah, to a point. I mean, that's the thing with pro cycling is that very few guys make a lot of money. Lance Armstrong did. A lot of that was the endorsement deals. I mean, if you're a D3, so a D3 pro, that's,
That's not college D3. That's something else.
D3 is like a high level. Okay. D1 is low level. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's right. I can't remember.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
D3 is like a D3 pro is going to race.
Yeah, there's like lingos and all these things. And you got to do it because you enjoy it. And it all does become a business at some point.
Of course.
There's frustrations and it's like, well, how much do you like the game? I mean, you hear that a lot with athletes.
So let's swing this back here to this whole idea of this guy getting piled on because he talked about how much money he was spending.
His friend was spending. It wasn't even him. He was talking about his friends.
Did he make a comment about that or just state the fact?
He was getting it. We can pull it up, put it in the show notes and let someone else go through it. But no,
Let's speculate.
Yeah.
Let's be lazy.
It was more his inclination like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's his opinion. I just don't think it's like, okay.
It's fine crazy.
Right. It might be. It might be the parents choosing the story for their kid and this is what you're going to do. And they're the ones at the game screaming at the kid and that's okay. Well, it happens. It's terrible and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just like, that's the supply and demand. It's like, if you want to play this sport and you're really good at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could go play, I'm just drawing a blank out there, house league baseball or whatever they call it. Like if you just play for your little league club, maybe this kid's really talented. And if he plays in that league, it's like total waste of time for him. Yeah. And I'm not saying he's going to go to the major leagues, and chances are he's going to come nowhere close to playing the major leagues. I don't know who this kid is, right?
Right.
We're guessing. Right?
Odds are against him is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Whoever this fictitious kid is.
Yeah, exactly. But if he plays in the little league and he's just boring for him, it's for the other kids are like, what are we supposed to do with this? It's not on even playing fields at all. So like he wants a challenge. He wants to go do something else. In order to do that, it costs this much money. If you don't want to play, if you don't want to pay, then don't play. I had it. It was going to be so profound and I missed it.
Rhyme. And then you could drop another sick beat on top of that. It's not going to happen.
Or like a broken beat like that.
No, you don't have the rhythm for that, man. You just don't.
I don't.
But that's okay.
I'm sorry. You're just hating on it. But right. So
yeah.
That just is what it is. It's no different than if you don't want to listen, then don't hit the play button.
That's right. That's right.
Like, who cares? It's kind of my point. Like, so now it's frustrating. Like, why are they asking for so much money? But like, you see some of these clubs and how much that goes into it.
But
yeah, so
that's the beauty of America, man.
Right?
You can lock onto a trend and go, I can turn that into a business. Well, here's the thing. I would like to see the return on investment from like internal data that says, hey, when your kids go through this program, they have X% increase in whatever. What are they using to measure that to justify the expense? Right. So to say, hey, look, we've got proven data numbers. Yeah. We have it proven right here. This is what's going to happen. Your kid comes to be a part of this program. They're going to increase in their skill level. It's not that hard.
Okay.
Think about baseball.
Yeah, they're going to be better.
Well, everything is on stats.
Right.
All of it.
I get that.
That's easy.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And I'm not against it because I'm not necessarily for paying that much. I think it's somewhat ridiculous because I would hold the clubs to a higher level. But if there's enough people that will pay, that it just drowns out. Like if you don't like it, then go somewhere else.
Well, so maybe that's the whole ROI conversation then is really not about, hey, did you get your return on investment by putting your son into this traveling team? I would say, did I get my return on investment from this organization that I invested this money into, right? I mean, did my son, so if the return on investment is my son increasing his skill, he got better, learned, whatever. Here's the direct correlation to, him being in that program, then yeah, maybe.
But it could be he's outside. Like, what if you met a new friend? Would you trade that friend? Like, if you never played in that club and you never met that kid who's now one of your best friends,
right? But
how do you measure
how
that?
Solid could that relationship be? It's just based around a sport that both of you probably grow out of because you're never going to do anything with it.
Wow. Yeah. Here's what I don't like. I don't like these clubs take advantage of the kids. That's what I don't like.
Now we're going to go get some, we want some justice. That should be the name of this podcast. We want justice.
Yeah.
And it's all about youth league sports overcharging.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I just kind of look at it like this. Hey, people are going to do what they want to do. And, somebody investing $4,500 to, put their kid through sports. I mean, honestly, why should I have an opinion on that? I shouldn't. Or if I do, I should keep it to myself because nobody asked for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you just did.
I did.
But this is all hypothetical.
Yeah. You're just thinking through things.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
We're just making noise.
Yeah.
We just like to hear ourselves talk.
You could be grateful, have gratitude.
That's true.
That your kid's out there playing a sport.
You
and
really
having
hooked
fun.
on this whole outside thing, which I really appreciate.
Outside.
Being outside. Outdoors.
Being outside. Mm-hmm. Or it could be indoors. You could play. My daughter's playing hockey right now. We're indoors. It's cold because you got to keep the ice cold, and especially in North Carolina. Yeah. There's a lot of indoors.
Is she any good?
She's just playing. It's like her first year playing.
No, I want you to tell me right now if she's any good because your mom and dad are going to hear this podcast and they're going to report back to your daughter.
You know what's amazing? This girl went on the ice and she had skated before and she was going to the boards because she's very nervous. Yeah. She had this thing. She just wants to play hockey.
Yeah.
And you know what? Who am I to tell her she can't play hockey? If you want to play hockey, go play hockey.
That's right.
She begged me. She's like, and then said, you can't play hockey unless you pass these 3 learn to skate classes and then these 2 hockey classes. That's the process you have to follow.
I like that.
She wants to keep going, She's there all the time, hours, right? Keep going. Then this Thursday comes around and she's like, Dad, can we go? I'm like, I don't know if we can go. Like, I want to take you, but it's going to be really hard. She's like begging. So I show up, pick her up at school. She's like, we're going ice skating? I'm like, yeah. She's so excited. She gets there. She had gotten all of her equipment because she's going to do all these things. So there's not a lot of people on the ice. She wears all of her equipment, leaves her helmet off. She skates around. This guy skates over to her and says, what team do you play for? I mean, what team do I play? Like, what hockey team are you on? She's like, I'm not on a hockey team. I was like, where's your dad? This girl had just really started skating about 2 months ago. He finds me. He's like, he's the one with the beanie in there. He's like, I'm going to go talk to him. He's like, I can get her on a hockey team next week.
Yeah. $4,500.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Right. It's perfect. I need your money.
Yeah. I can get her on a team.
And it wasn't. You know what? It had nothing to do with me. I was just there.
Right.
I drove her there. That was it. And I loved watching her. But it was because she kept showing up and she kept working. It's something that she wanted. So we can support that. It's like, that was it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That was fun.
That is very cool.
And then she's doing it. It's not going to be like, oh, it's going to be awesome from here. No, there's ups and downs. And then you like level out.
It's not supposed to be an easy ride.
But you just got to keep showing up and keep trying, just like a podcast, right? Anyway.
Yeah. I think we should call this podcast the Best Dad Ever Podcast.
The best who?
Dad Ever Podcast. Because clearly you're just going to tell stories about how you're such an amazing dad.
Oh my God.
No, but I want to go ahead and say I really think that's...
That is virtue signaling, and I don't like that.
What's virtue signaling?
Yeah,
the Best Dad Ever Podcast.
Well, if you just tell stories, but you're not really saying what you're trying. Like, the whole point is like you're trying to say what a great father you are, or a great friend.
Do you not think you're a great father?
Man, that's just I don't know, man. That's not for me to decide.
Come on, I'm looking at you right now.
Well, what is that? How do you measure that ROI?
There you go. Yeah. Define great. I mean, you can really just like let's dive into the nuance. What does great mean?
Like, I don't know. Notorious.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great could have its roots in, well, what's the common thing is to trace everything back to racism these days. So why don't you tell, look at your face.
It's like
everything. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's the craziness of the culture that we live in today is that we just, media is going to hyper focus on extreme ideas. Yeah, I know. I saw your face stop. You're like, great, I'm going to have to edit this out. No, you're not. You're not,
Well, it's a heck of a transition. And I like non-transitions. Like you just, boom, it's just somehow it's like, wait a second. For the listener, like we're talking about youth sports, we're talking about fatherhood.
That's right.
And then you talk about CNN and like in war porn. That's the word ever.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because as we talked about last time, the numbers are way down. And I get it because I compared CNN to Mr. Beast and you'll be like, well, those are two like opposite things, right? So those numbers aren't. But what's like when you hear who's Budweiser competing with, they're not just competing with the next beer. They're competing with any possible beverage that you might be, or the lack of not drinking or water. They're competing with your faucet, right? That's fascinating stuff.
It is, yeah.
So they are in a way competing with any sort of consumption of content.
Definitely.
So the war starts, the Russian invasion.
Yeah.
And it's like you turn on the news, and I'm not saying that they're excited. I don't
That's
think
a peacekeeping operation, by the way.
Whatever. We can go
down that. No, that's the Russia's whole. That's the Russia's whole thing. Is like this is not an invasion.
Like,
it's a
I'm not
which is crazy.
The war. I'm just saying, like, there is a part of them somewhere that's like they absolutely need this. Their ratings go up because I talk to people, and what are they watching now? They're watching CNN, Fox News, MSNBC because they need listeners. So I'm not saying that they want war and they want innocent people.
Here's the perverseness of all that stuff, right? If you watch any of the, we'll just say your traditional media outlets, all of them, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all the pundits they have on there, they are saying some batshit things, right? I mean, something I think we need to be really at least cognizant of is that Russia's a nuclear power. I'm not saying like, oh, well, they would. No, America is the strongest nuclear power by far. There's no doubt in my mind at all on that. But all it takes is one nuclear bomb to do massive amounts of devastation, as we know. So all of this, like, oh, we should consider setting up a no-fly zone. And also, like, whoa. That's an act of war. You were saying that the United States should actively engage Russia, should declare war on Russia, a nuclear power that has already said, hey, we're putting our nuclear weapons on high alert, right? Do we really want to keep going down that road as though it's like, oh yeah, we should absolutely do this, and talking as though that's like a normal thing and starting to beat that drum of war again? And I think to myself, there's no foresight at all from these people. Or if it is, it's very self-centered. It's like, hey, look, maybe they're, defense contractors love this stuff. That's a massive part of our economy is our war spending, defense contracting. I mean, we need to get a new war going. All that money's got to get made, which it is right now. We're ramping up production and selling weapons to Ukraine. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just think, sure, you can get your ratings up, but that's where the perverseness of all the incentives come into play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough.
So what happens?
Well, yeah.
Mr. Futurist. Yeah.
Oh, so you asked me what happens? Well, first and foremost, I'm not an expert on the area.
Right.
I'm not an expert on much at all.
Right.
I'm a generalist in all things, including life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that, again, this is all, I'd take it with a grain of salt. I think to better understand why certain things are happening, you can't look at them and take it for face value. You have to really ask, well, who wins and who loses? And I don't mean that in the literal sense of like war, but I mean, when it's all said and done, because everybody loses in war. But when it's all said and done, right, like who's really being incentivized to push a certain set of actions forward? The idea is like, oh man, well, Russia's this big bad country and they invaded poor Ukraine and we have to go over there and fight for democracy and freedom for all peoples. Come on. America's not going to do that. Like what? We just have this noble aspiration where there's nothing in it for us? No, man. I mean, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Right? We'll go over and in the name of spreading democracy or defending freedom, we will occupy various areas throughout Africa on the continent there. And, we're protecting people from these terrible, name the group, whatever they might be. But the reality is that Africa is a strategic location, not just for the United States, but for China. I mean, the natural resources that are there are massive. So of course we're going to go over there and fight for freedom and defend the rights of other people because it works out for us.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not being cynical. That's just a fact. That's what it means to go and defend American interests abroad.
Yeah.
I'm not making a point about it, except that that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to pause this because
in
I got
the
a call
interest of
coming
time.
up.
Yeah, you got a call. So that's
like
all right,
3
though.
minutes, but then we can pick up where we left off.
We've been recording for 27 minutes, and
I dig that. We'll give you enough time to charge those batteries so that we don't just yammer on for another 30 minutes and nothing's being recorded. Man. This is really good. This is good. All right, so this is part one, and we're going to go ahead and stop part one now, aren't we?
We are.
That's a great way to end it.
It is. We want to quickly highlight a company that you may not know about but should. For this episode, that is Millennium Counseling Center in Chicago, Illinois. Their mission is to help people find a way out of the shame and pain often caused by addiction, mental illness, and trauma. Millennium Counseling Center believes that with hard work and dedication, people can reclaim the hope that has been stripped away. When you spend even a moment talking with anyone on the team at Millennium, you see how important you are to them. Learn more about Millennium at millenniumhope.com. Also, if you're in and around the world of sports, they have a fast-growing sports and performance wellness division. And be sure to subscribe to their Millennium Counseling Center podcast on your favorite podcast app. We work with the team at Millennium, and that's because we believe in them and know the work they do has real impact. millenniumhope.com. Are you subscribed to any of the big streaming, like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max?
Are you asking if I have subscribed? I'm getting ready to cancel my subscription to most of those.
So what are you going to watch TV on?
Nothing.
So you don't watch any TV?
I need to take a screen break.
What about your family? They don't watch?
Well, they do.
So what are they going to watch?
Well, I kind of have the philosophy that like,
Should,
hey,
like,
you know what?
Time Warner Cable?
No. No, we keep
DirecTV?
the internet.
You got the
we're
satellite?
Not going to cancel it. Yeah, satellite. Yeah.
I had a satellite for like 12 years. It was great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I can watch the Bills games like from it was like amazing.
Oh wait,
and
that's
it's all
right.
Sunday
So
ticket.
satellites can.
But you don't
watch
have
the
to do
Browns
it.
game.
Well, no, now you can subscribe
Not
through
at
just
that
DirecTV
price.
Sunday ticket.
I don't think so, man. Like
it's
$100 some odd bucks a month. So watch
No.
Yes.
It's not. It's like $375 total or something stupid for the season. It's a lot.
But that's just for the season. That's a short season.
Yeah, but you can watch on your. It is.
I know, but if I want to watch the Browns, like, why can't I just like subscribe to the Browns?
But you know what? They're not going to keep it. Like it's going to move on.
It's going up for
Who's going to
contract.
buy? Yeah,
I think Amazon's going to get
Amazon could get
it.
it.
Amazon's been in
Apple.
the running. Amazon already has like
They got the
reach.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Apple wants in.
Oh, they're Apple. I mean,
It's like pocket change.
but I mean, let's be honest. Let's think about this, right? When you think of NFL
Mm-hmm.
and you think of Apple,
Mm-hmm.
the two, I don't know, it's like oil and water. It just doesn't.
But it doesn't matter. They don't care. It's
No,
money.
but I think there's a branding. It doesn't contextually make sense. It does contextually make sense for Amazon.
But they could change the style.
Yeah, but
Did you watch the Nickelodeon playoff game? It was a playoff game, and it was on whatever station it was on. It NBC. It doesn't matter.
No, I didn't watch
Nickelodeon. It might have been because Nickelodeon's associated with one of those networks. But Nickelodeon did the game. What was really cool because the end zone were like slime. Was like slime.
it. Wait, did this actually
Let's
happen?
get your verbs right. No, it did. It happened, and they had different announcers. And if like someone scored a touchdown, they got slimed. Like, but not really because it was all
That's not a football
technology.
game. That's just like that's an
It was
event.
fun.
I'm sure it was.
But they just for
That's
kids.
different.
I had more fun watching that broadcast than I did the
I
regular
suffer
one.
enough as a Browns fan.
You don't want to watch. If it's your team, maybe you want to watch.
Not really. Why would I want to watch the Browns get humiliated any more than they
They
humiliate
weren't
themselves?
in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. It's
Not
a
this year,
playoff game.
but last year.
Oh wow,
Let's
they were
talk
in the
about
playoffs. Yeah,
They were.
yeah.
Amazingly.
Baker.
Yeah.
They don't want him. I know. That's like back to episode 1.
We
no
have
one
to, we have
cares.
to like retread old ground here.
No. So, how are we going to consume sporting events? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Just wait for it.
I'm holding on.
In the future, I can tell you how. I'll get you started.
Go ahead. Yeah, you threw that one up. Why don't you tell me what you
go
think?
in the metaverse. So we're going to go virtual reality. What we're going to do? You'll be on the field,
Mm-hmm.
standing at the 50-yard line, and here comes the running back, like running right at you. But you'll be okay because
Listen, man, this is not a new idea.
I know it's not a new
It's been
idea.
around for years
I'm not
and years.
sitting here like breaking news
You're
on
not innovative.
entrepreneur perspectives.
You're not an innovator.
No, but
You're
that
not
would
a
be very
futurist.
different than watching two announcers tell you what you're seeing on the TV.
Well, so-
Are people
so-
getting tired of that?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, that is, my dad is a perfect example of this. He mutes anytime the announcers are talking, it's just mute.
Why?
Because who wants to hear their commentary?
Because he doesn't agree with it, or just because it's
just
annoying.
noise.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, man, just
But
shut
then you
up.
can't hear the crowd.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying. No, I'm
Just
not
throw some-
arguing. I'm just
yeah.
thinking. Don't get defensive.
Well, look, as Browns fans, we're yelling a lot, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't hear the crowd anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're drowned out by our screams and anger.
It's like Brady fans. They turn up the volume.
Do they?
I don't know.
Well,
But it's just so it's like if you don't want to hear the announcers, but you want to hear the ambiance, what do you do? because they do that for like national championship games in college.
Yeah.
They'll have it on like 4 different ESPN channels. One channel's like the bird's eye view. One channel is the typical broadcast. One channel is the coaches channel where like 4 coaches are sitting around talking about what's going on. And then the other game is like multiple angles with no noise. It's a little weird though to watch a game for 3 hours and to watch different. It's cool, right?
That is cool.
And you make your own determinations.
It shows you how up and up I am on.
Well, because broadcast is definitely trying to get you to go down some sort of path that they want to take you on, which is, of course, the storytelling aspect of broadcasting is where it like originated.
Right.
Where they would tell you, baseball, you could do that, right?
There was a real skill in that. I tell you one thing that was a few years ago when I first got back into the Browns after having left them for about 15 years or so. Because
they left you.
No, I mean,
they went to Baltimore.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. Art Modell sold him to Baltimore.
Middle of the night.
Yeah. The name that, that was trying to make some Harry Potter joke and it just didn't land.
You didn't have to say that because we didn't pick up on it because it was just...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can you edit that out? Because I really want to sound smart on your podcast.
Okay. So you left the Browns. They left you.
Yeah, I just lost interest. I was like, why would I want to put myself through that? And then I remember because you and I were talking about this a few years back. The Browns were on the School of Hard Knocks, or was it...
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, not the School of Hard Knocks. Okay, cool. I see. I'm just improvising there. Hard Knocks. I was like, oh, this is great. Had no idea who Baker Mayfield was or any of these folks. And it was all there. It's this new lineup of people coming in. I just thought this would be fun to watch, having my coffee in the morning and, reminiscing about growing up with the Browns. And and then I got hooked again. Yeah. And here I am.
Well, okay, so that's cool because you got hooked. So is that how you got hooked? Like Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
Was that? So content outside of the actual game brought you back in, like a TV show, a reality show.
Yeah.
Brought you back. Yeah. I mean, that's how you get intrigued by it.
Trust me, I did not go looking for the Browns again. Didn't.
They found you.
I just found them on HBO.
You, and then they're like, come on back,
Well,
Jared.
That kind of goes with the thing, right? It's like HBO and then there's the Browns. It's like, well, but it kind of makes sense because HBO has a long history of showing sports-related content that is not the actual game. Like they get into the story about the players and the backgrounds and things like that. So it brings back to Apple and the NFL. I just don't see any... I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying that it's just in your mind, like the two don't really fit together.
What if you lived in a world where you watched Hard Knocks about whatever team you want to watch?
Sure.
And they had their own channel, right? You got this. And then they were going to play the games, but you didn't watch the games. You got clips of it. You got highlights through the TV show that you watched.
Right.
So you didn't sit there and watch from 1 to 4 on a Sunday. You watched it on demand whenever you wanted to. And I guess at some point you'd have to watch it because the game's going to take place and it's going to be old news really fast.
You're going to find,
But if it was like maybe before and you got the clips, like, would you choose that over not getting any of that content and actually all you get is the actual game?
Yeah. I mean, for me at this point, so I think the hook is the shows like Hard Knocks, which then turned into after that, they started their own YouTube program called Building the Browns.
Yeah.
So it just spun it. So they found there's a huge
audience. Where do you watch that? Like Facebook or
YouTube? But I don't really watch it that much, honestly. I mean, so
is it good?
It is. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
So it's like a mini version of Hard Knocks.
Pretty much. And it's ongoing. It's like a series. Yeah. So I'm sure they do.
And it's brought to you by Miller Lite or whatever.
I guess so.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't know. But I haven't really been following.
Progressive Insurance or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Baker's
what is Baker? What is he?
He's like on, I think it's Geico or Progressive.
Yeah. He lives in the stadium.
Farm.
He's got good commercials. People rail on him for that.
Of course. They're like, hey, man, work on your throwing.
Stop but it's kind of dumb because he's going to have free time.
Of course he is, man. Like, why not? If you're going to get endorsed, soak it up.
Right. There's something about him that people like. And so...
He's a fighter, man. He is. Yeah. I like him. I do. But no, so on that side, it's the content on the outside, I think is what hooks you in. And then it makes me want to watch the games more.
Yeah.
But I haven't gone back to watching Building the Browns or anything. Just like, I don't have
But that's what kids do. Kids get into I'd rather see things on TikTok about the player or the team that they like. And they might not sit there and watch 3 hours of a game. But they know plenty of what's going on. They've seen all of the whatever, the talk and the plays and the replays of it.
Yeah.
That they're getting their content in a different way. As opposed to telling me when I have to watch it. Like it's just different.
There's a different purpose, right? All the additional content is more of you're getting the human element, the story, right? But when we watch a game, we're watching them perform their craft. And that's different, right?
I've talked about the wonder. That's a good one. So the reason is it was a Larry King interview.
Yeah.
And he talked about waking up in the morning. He loved baseball.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about waking up and not knowing what was going to happen in the game that evening. And he loved that. That's why he went to his interviews And when he did he didn't know. He didn't read the book. He didn't research him because he wanted to be like, in his mind, his viewer.
Yeah.
He wanted them to see it, to like asking questions like, you don't know anything about Oprah. He's like, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
We're going to find out together.
Yeah.
But he had this wonder that he had about it. And I think there's something to that. Like, you're going to watch this game and wow, this is just good too. Because it's unscripted.
You're back in.
I'm sorry.
There you are, man.
You know, it's
came
really
back.
good. That just got me excited. But it's, no, it's my turn. No.
Yeah.
But it's unscripted, maybe. You know, I think Browns and Bills fans could say, is it unscripted? Was that how it was supposed to go down? But that's another story. That's a conspiracy theory.
Is it?
Right. Could be. So there's something to that. But I don't know if, because you love talking about generations, millennial, Gen Z, how they feel about.
It was just all bullshit, by the way. Generational categorizations that's
of course.
A uniquely American-made thing. I think the Chinese have like 200 different categorizations.
Oh, wow. Well, here's the thing. It's because you get to put it in a box.
Exactly.
I mean, people are always trying to like, what do you do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Like, you're a lawyer, you're a teacher, you're this, you're that. Like, I got to know.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, kids, they don't have the attention span. They don't want to sit around on 3 hours and they don't want to watch a game. And there's so much other content to choose from as we talk. You can watch CNN all day. You could watch Mr. Beast, right? Like we talked about.
CNN all day. Jeez. If you're in the airport all day.
Yeah.
Because I think they lost that contract.
Yeah, but why would you watch that? Because you have your phone now. Like, even the TV in front of you, you don't have to watch the TV.
I am
People
a
have
little
TVs
about that.
on. And this is my podcast now, like totally like I've just taken over. But you could be sitting on a couch. You could have 100 foot TV would be nice. And you just have your iPhone in front of you. And it's so much easier to control. Like, remote controls on televisions are terrible.
Oh, no.
But if you pull your phone out and control your Roku or Apple TV, it's way better. Like, why would you use the remote? Like, get it on your phone. Anyway,
that's true.
I'm way off the rails right now. So bring us back in.
Well, it's a lot like Bubbles.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I just threw you off your game.
Yeah, that's good.
It has nothing to do with Bubbles.
Yeah.
I just picked a random thing.
Word association. Yeah.
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 No, definitely. It has nothing to do with Bubbles
with
at
my
all.
Kids. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. This is good. You're running with it. I like that. It's really good. Yeah.
It's a talent.
I started to tell this story about, we're listening to broadcasters because I couldn't get the Browns and I was traveling to Tennessee. And so I just listened to them on the Browns radio. And apparently it was free. Now it's not. Now it's like you have to pay.
Charge for that.
I was like, dude, no. So I was listening to the whole game on Browns radio. I thought, this is a real art.
Was that on TuneIn Radio or something?
I can't remember. It was just off their website. But I'm listening to the broadcasters and I thought, that's a skill. Like they're really, like they're painting the picture, everything that's happening. So that's different than the commentators on TV. Those guys are just like speculating, Jim, when I was playing and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Shut up. Nobody cares.
Right.
Right. But if you're the commentator from the box, you're the broadcast. I'm probably getting it all wrong, but you're doing it over radio. You have to paint a 3-dimensional picture in one dimension. That's a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a skill.
It is a skill.
I understand paying for the content, but baseball does this. You're talking about like, that's where the most storytelling goes on.
For sure.
For baseball, you can't even get the content. So how do you want my kid to grow up? Let's say we live in Charlotte, and one of the favorite teams in this area in the Southeast is the Atlanta Braves. Yeah. They used to be on TBS, so you could just get them for free.
Yeah.
And kids today, I know people who live in Utah are huge Braves fans. Like, it makes from Salt Lake City, Utah, and you root for a team in Atlanta, Georgia. It makes zero sense. Like, really, when you think about it, when you put those two in the room together, it's not the same thing. And they're diehard Braves fans because that's the team they grew up watching.
That's right.
In Charlotte, it's very hard to watch the Atlanta Braves play unless you drive 4+ hours, pay $100 for parking, go to the game, sit in 100-degree heat. It's fun. I love it, right? But like, that's the only way you watch it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. It drives me crazy because like you have this kid who's ready to be a Braves fan and can't watch it. My daughter, same thing. We talked about hockey earlier. She wants to go to games. She wants to go to the Carolina Hurricanes. Close in, right? They're on Bailey Sports Radio or something. And in Charlotte, it's not on YouTube TV. It's not on most of the, you have to subscribe to something in order to get it.
Yeah.
So you can't watch it. So how are you going to be a fan? And you can buy the NHL package and watch you can watch the Winnipeg Jets, Calgary Flames, and LA Kings. But you cannot watch the Carolina Hurricanes besides the 6 times out of 82 that they're on TV. It's the dumbest thing ever. You have a kid here who will buy all the gear, go to games, do all this different stuff, and they can't watch the games. How are they going to grow up to be a fan? It's so short-sighted to think of it that way. And I get it. They have a network, and that's the way their relationship works.
It's an old media
stupid.
model, man. I mean, they still base everything on Nielsen ratings and viewership. It's an antiquated system. But I mean, if people are still willing to pay for advertising, and then there's contracts, right? I mean, what is it? DirecTV has had the contract with the NFL. That's why they sell the Sunday ticket, and it's coming up for
That's like
renewal.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not going to get
No, they don't want it. It's been a loss leader.
They would lose so bad.
They've been losing money on it for years. But there was a loss. There's like, hey, subscribe to DirecTV and we throw this in. That was it, right? That was the only reason why. So it hasn't been making them money. So then you have to go back and say, well, who has the reach? Sure, Apple has the reach, but when it comes to, I don't know what it's compared to with Amazon, but I mean, Apple TV is fine. It's a little confusing. I mean,
it's not there, but they can turn it
Amazon is, and Amazon already got into the game.
Yeah.
And here's why I think it makes more sense with Amazon is that Amazon doesn't have like a certain brand story that's like wraps up. It's like, oh, you're part of this family.
Type of stuff for Apple. Yeah.
Apple's very much like, this is who we are. This is our cult. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's, I mean,
cults
part of the Apple
positives,
cult.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it gets a little soft and cheesy at times, you know, but I mean, that's still everything I've got.
If you want to go down that, you can just, I like their equipment.
Their equipment's great.
Right.
You know, I mean, I do.
You ever gotten a PC lately?
No.
Yeah. I mean, like, why would you? No, you wouldn't. Yeah. Drive you crazy.
Yeah. You know, now that I'm running that A1 Max chip, that thing is a beast.
Yeah.
But it's about time. They should have been on that.
Oh, there's a lot to be said that Apple's, gone too slow. But people
but they've created a culture. They've created like an ethos around them that's, here's this story, you're part of this family. Amazon has not. And it was intentional, right? I mean, Amazon is very much, we are going to give you something of high value. Our mission is to sell everything to everyone, everywhere. Right. So it makes sense. Well, of course, they'd acquire the NFL, or not acquire the NFL, but they would acquire the rights of the contracts. They'll probably they'll buy that from the family at some point.
Yeah.
But that fits into their model of we want to sell everything to everyone, everywhere.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime. I mean, they got into the creating original content well before Apple did. So Apple's really, they're a laggard when it comes to this. Well, we're getting into the content creation business. Amazon's been, much faster, like going across
I agree.
Their industry to do that.
They've hit it big. I mean, Apple's got, the Ted Lasso show. If you haven't watched that, that's their show. That hit. That's worth a watch.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
I've watched some of this stuff. It's all right.
Yeah, that's the show though. Like if you want to subscribe for a month and just binge, I think it's 2 seasons. What about networks? So like in the world, the past, in the previous history or what? I don't. That's not even previous history.
That's kind of like wet water. But go ahead.
I don't know what it meant. I'm like, yeah, it's like you're trying too hard, Eric.
Don't try hard.
I'm not. I am, but I'm not. Now you're just throwing me off my
bubbles.
Game. ABC, NBC, Fox, ESPN, they all have access to the NFL. So why can't Apple, Amazon, YouTube?
They do.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They all can have. We want Thursday Night Football.
Right.
We want all Sunday. We want the AFC, just like CBS has. We're going to buy the rights to the AFC.
Right.
Big Ten.
But these are different. So somebody like me, like you, we're not Carolina Panthers fans. You're a Bills fan. I'm a Browns fan. I want to watch the Browns. I don't want to watch the Carolina Panthers. I don't want to pay $375 for an entire package to watch every game I possibly can when the only ones I care about are the Cleveland Browns. That's it. So why can't I just subscribe to the Browns? That makes more sense.
You can do that. Like NBA, you
can't do that in the NFL.
No, I know. And that's counter to my point of like having networks because the rights were the comparison we're making. It's not that
they have rights per game. Like they have, they're going to show this game on this network.
The bigger conversation is the DirecTV owns the rights to all the games, or not owns the rights. I don't know how that is, but you would buy. That's who we're comparing. Like, okay, if it's not going to be DirecTV, who's it going to be? Amazon,
so DirecTV,
Apple.
I don't think they own the rights to all the games. What they own the rights to is Sunday Ticket,
right? Correct.
Which is a paid service,
right? That's different.
That's totally different.
Yep.
So the NFL owns the rights to all the games,
correct?
So they're going to give those out to CBS, to Fox, to ESPN, and it's on these different things.
For
so
$100 billion,
right? So you're spread across these networks. So then it plays in well with the old media model, which is you buy an entire cable package, and then you have access to all these channels. And if you want to watch games that are out of your network on a regular basis, well, you can pay an extra $75 a month on top of what you already pay to watch your home team.
Right.
And to me, that's why people just get to a point of, it's just not, I'll just watch the 15-minute highlights after the game is done.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because there's going to be some finality to it, obviously. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose.
Yeah.
I'll watch 15 minutes of highlights.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and in the long run, that's probably a lot better for Browns fans anyway. It's like you minimize my suffering. We kind of know where this is going to go.
Does it ever peak out though, right? Like, does the sport hit that all-time high, and does it come down to where like less people are watching?
Sure. I'm sure that does. I'm sure there's real statistics on that.
In the future. Yeah.
I think, in the future?
You just don't know when how that happens.
Well, I mean, why do we like sports, right? Human beings are vicarious by nature. We like to live or see our lives through somebody else. This is why I like sports. I mean, that's one reason. Other things people might say as well, men like sports because, this thing that we've lost in our culture, this tribal, warfare, it's just kind of built into our biology. But, on just a human being level, we're vicarious creatures. So why Facebook and social media and everything is taken off is because we get to peer into other people's lives. We get to live life through that. This is why virtual reality makes sense as well, is that I can vicariously experience somebody else's life by putting on a headset. So you have to look at the way you can tell if something's going to be successful is if it taps into basic human drives. Vicarious is one of them, being vicarious. I want to see the world through somebody else's lens. It's why we get into books, why we get into movies. It's empathy, right?
It's escapism.
Well,
too. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying that in a negative. You stay present when you're at the game.
Yeah.
You're not worried.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, this is one of the reasons I like sports, is you can tap into that game for 2-3 hours and you're just focused in on it. And you're not
it gives you something to get
about
excited about.
Yeah, it's just something different.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool thing. We want to see people succeed,
Oh.
Now, true. If it's in your own hometown and community and your next door neighbor, I've seen this a lot from folks.
You use the word tribal, right? And sports has that. I mean, you think about football and, overseas, or you think about college football in the States. I mean, you say the wrong team. I mean, it's like everything you're wrong. Yeah. I'm right.
Yeah.
Your team's not good. My team is good. And I don't want to hear anything you have to say. And all your players are terrible.
Where that's really evident? When we moved to Raleigh back in 2006, we were there for 6 years. We just moved up from Atlanta. I was early on in, a few years into the insurance business, but I was in Raleigh. And so I would travel all around the triangle for all of my work. And it was very apparent. I always had this great excuse. I said, they always want to know, are you a State fan? State fans, UNC, they didn't like each other, but they together hated Duke with passion.
Okay,
so you start to realize, like, oh, okay, and I would just play dumb. I said, look, I'm an Army bred. I have no loyalty anywhere.
Pick a side, buddy.
Yeah, so I played that neutral card all the time. But you could tell. I mean, there was if you were a fan of any of those teams, it was all over your office, everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and especially with basketball, the triangle is a vicious place.
Yeah, it's tough. NC State's terrible right now. I remember when I got here.
I don't even follow. I still
know
play the
that,
neutral card.
And it's like, but it's interesting because what happens is that your loyalty, and you've given them so much, and it's like they're kind of irrelevant. And it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to associating yourself with these teams, and it becomes an identity for a lot of people, because that 3 hours of escapism, that's like going into virtual reality and then taking off the goggles and still being in it because you can't escape it, right? You're still there. So sports, like your team loses or your team wins, and it becomes that identity, which we've touched on in the past. So you do it with a lot of jokiness behind it, right? And you have fun with it. And yeah.
That's the only thing you can do if you're a Browns fan, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no lie you can tell yourself in that.
How good would it feel when they win, though?
It feels great.
No, I'm saying when they really win. Not a game. Like a game is a game.
Okay.
It's just a game.
You're talking about big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dare to dream.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, it'll be interesting to see this coming year.
It's the next year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ongoing joke. This is their year, man. This is like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
This is
not their year.
I mean, that's fun to say.
Yeah.
It's not their year.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the year. They're cursed. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have saddled.
Because you don't, so with that, because
I was trying to come up with some really clever, like,
it
saddle
doesn't matter.
that horse.
I saw it, and we just had to, escape that.
I saddled that train.
The escape pod. You can't watch your team because it's about, like, they're not going to win.
Allegedly. Statistically, yes.
They're not going to win. Pick a team. They're not going to win. One team will win. That's it.
Well, that's true, yeah.
So the chances of your team winning, like the Cowboys, they have, I think, 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Super Bowls.
A lot of Super Bowls.
I think we just, Super Bowl 56? I don't know what we just had.
Boring.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah, it is. It's so one day it'll be a Super Bowl 128. Like, great.
Yeah.
But anyway, 5 Super Bowls is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a small percentage of the total Super Bowls. Like, so chances are, like 90% of the time, they're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good odds.
Yeah.
And they haven't won anything since the mid-90s. So they're like, the Cowboys are a terrible organization. They haven't won since the mid-90s. The Cleveland Browns have never been to the Super Bowl. So, like, why would 0% chance basically of winning? Like, what are we doing here? So you're going to leave every season horribly disappointed. The Buffalo Bills have never won. That's true. So I've heard.
You guys got a leg up.
Yeah, they lost a few. More than a few. It's 4. So I don't know what that is. It's on a few. But anyway, you don't watch because of like, you have to win. Because if that's it, you're going to be disappointed. What a horrible return on your time.
Look at that.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Bringing it full circle.
Man,
4,500.
just feeling it today.
That's the name of the podcast. 4,500.
Okay.
$4,500. That's the name of the podcast.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then with a question mark at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just the inside
I
joke.
like it. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's not it. Not if you've listened.
Well,
But anyway, you're
yeah.
back on track.
Yeah.
Back on-
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So don't watch it because they're going to win the championship.
Exactly.
I mean, so it's like each game can be by itself. So maybe winning that one game can mean a lot. Like that moment.
Dude, as a Browns fan,
So,
yes,
like,
it is.
Think about the moment the moment we're having right now
It's a good moment.
in this windowless room,
Yeah.
80 degrees outside.
We need to be outside.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a moment. It's not about we win the Super Bowl of podcasting. I don't know if one exists. We should try.
Could be
I mean,
Super
you
Bowl
never know.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot. I don't think there's an answer to that. Because a Brady fan, I say Brady fan because he's been on two teams. So now it's like he's not even a part of it. He's like, and he's retired. So it's over. But like the odds of him winning
Mm-hmm.
are really good.
They
Like
are.
he's going to win the Super Bowl. There's probably an 80% chance that he's going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This team over here, compiled of many players and coaches, is 0% chance they're not going to win it.
Yeah.
So why would you show up and continue to watch?
That's a great question. Oh, were you about to end the podcast? Just
No,
cut it right
I was
there.
looking. I was just making sure that the recording
Don't go
had
touching
stopped.
random buttons, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd
Yeah,
regret
yeah.
that.
yeah,
Yeah. And so would everybody listening.
that's right. That's good, man.
It's good.
Yeah,
I'd have to say
this
it's
is really good. Yeah,
It's good that we did like a little part one, part two, same day. We took a little call break.
I like
and
that.
This is,
Yeah,
this
you can
is-
do that.
It's just fun. Yeah.
It's hard to get back in and just get going, which is why I think conversations
Mm-hmm.
take time to develop.
They
I
do.
think lectures. If you hear someone give a presentation, I'm not saying a lecture. It's a terrible presentation, or even a comedian. Like sometimes they start off good, but
Yeah.
it usually takes a little bit to build
Hey,
up.
speaking of, I'm going to cut you off right there because this is really important. Jiminy Glick. Jiminy Glick is a character that Martin Short
Oh, okay.
created, and he would interview other comedians.
Yeah.
He'd wear this-
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Have you watched it's my buddy Paul Tulin. I mean, I've loved Martin Short since I was,
That's great.
younger.
Yeah.
And when he was doing Jiminy Glick, I think it was just during a time in my life where I wasn't watching TV at all. So I didn't even know about it. And my buddy Paul's like, "You've never heard of Jiminy Glick?" And I said,
Yeah.
"No."
Yeah.
And so once he turned me on to that, man.
Yeah. You show me, and it's kind of like Between Two Ferns is like
Yeah, he's interviewing,
Yeah.
and he's just the most obnoxious
yeah.
interviewer. He wears a big fat
Yeah.
suit and you can't recognize him.
Yeah, we'll drop one here in the show notes, like a YouTube video.
Oh yeah,
of it.
there's
Yeah.
one of the best of Jiminy Glick.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought
That's
about that
great.
because he interviews a lot of the comics that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite of all time is Larry David. I think he's probably the
It's great.
most ingenious, writer and comedian. He's got Ricky Gervais, Seinfeld is
Yeah.
on there. All these folks, and it's funny because none of it's scripted. So
Yeah.
you're watching two comedians go toe to toe. They're having to sit there with this character,
Yeah.
but they're also with Martin Short with how fast. So they'll say things to him and he just snaps back so quick.
Yeah.
Well, it's like watching a sport.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's impressive to watch because
Yeah.
you think these are some of the funniest people on the planet and they can't keep a straight face with him. He just takes them to task.
I love that about like comedy. Like
Mhm.
when you get the true Saturday Night Live of they just lose it. You
Yeah.
know?
Well,
It's just the right comedian that can pull it off. I know you're not supposed to do that. I
No,
think it's
I know.
funny. I find it
so
funny.
I think it was,
Jimmy Fallon used to do it all the time.
there was the whole crew. It was
I think
Jimmy
it's-
Fallon was there. Well, it was like towards
Will
the end
Ferrell.
of Will Ferrell's
Yeah.
time there,
Mhm.
really towards the end. But it was a lot of your new folks like Tina Fey and all.
Yeah.
So that whole crew, when they were first coming up, I stopped watching Saturday Night Live because every Saturday Night Live, they were always like breaking character and laughing. I was like, this just almost seems
Yeah,
really stupid.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't funny.
Mm.
And none of these people are funny.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'll
Yeah.
tell you who is funny. Chris Redd. That guy's hilarious.
Who's that?
He's midway. He's been there. Gosh, what is he? I'm trying to think of a sketch that I think he's just one of the funniest guys.
Yeah.
There's this hilarious sketch
And he
called
doesn't
The
break
Game.
character. Okay.
No, he doesn't break character.
Yeah.
But he's not part of that crew like Tina Fey and all them. I mean, I just was thinking about somebody who was really funny on that show.
Well, so Ryan Gosling, he's not the character I'm thinking of, but he broke character. You've seen the
but
one.
he's not on Saturday Night Live.
He was a guest appearance on
Exactly.
Saturday Night Live, the Close Encounter episode. Oh, thank God. I mean, it's got to be one of the best ones.
By far.
And she maybe chuckles.
Barely. She is a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate McKinnon. I was just like drawing a blank. She's unbelievable.
She's on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, by far.
And like you said, though, that's why you watch that stuff, because you want to see what Kate McKinnon's going to do.
Yeah, well, it's like with Will Ferrell.
And sometimes
he was what
it's
drew
like,
so many
it's
people.
not great. It's whatever. It missed. It's fine. It happens.
Yeah.
And other times it's just, I'm so glad I saw that. I'm so glad I was there to watch that take place. And like you said, it's like a sport.
Yeah.
And I think like it doesn't have to be what you think it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and when you really think about SNL, Will Ferrell was the ultimate. Like he turned all of it into a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was amazed that anybody that could keep a solid straight face with him.
Yeah.
Because he was just so, he's still that way.
Well, if you think about like Step Brothers when they made it, like imagine being
yeah.
on set when they made that movie.
Yeah.
And how you'd get through a scene.
Wasn't it
It's
funny
so
that John C.
ridiculous.
Reilly, we think of him as a comedian, but that's the majority of his career. That wasn't the case.
Right.
Yeah. He was more of a serious actor.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's just.
Yeah. Days of Thunder, small cameo.
Oh, dude.
Not a cameo, but good part. But anyway.
That was a good part.
Yeah. This is a good podcast.
I'd say so too. At least for
really
us.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to do it again.
Yeah.
One day we'll have our own show. Or do we have it now?
I think we might have it.
I think we might.
It's a series.
Yeah, we got to change the name of this. Was it
That's
entrepreneurial?
It's
Takes.
not serial.
Entrepreneurial.
Straight entrepreneur. We can do a spin-off.
Yeah, let's do one.
We'll take some name suggestions. We'll spin it off. It'll be on the network.
Best dads ever. Fun.
Sell it to Apple.
Totally. We
Yeah.
could totally sell it to Apple. We're going to have like that clean, modern look to it, and
Yeah.
be on Apple mics. They
For
don't make
sure.
Apple mics.
Sell it as an NFT in the metaverse.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
That's the way to shut this one down.
that's it. All right, man.
All right, dude.
See ya. Kasimov is our content production company. Why content? It's simple. Content brings people together. I've seen it play out over and over, and I want to help others explore and discover this for themselves. The experience is totally worth it. Learn more at kasimov.com. We focus on podcasts and writing, one piece of content at a time. It all starts with conversations, just like this one.